I'd like to call to order the Town of St. John Park Board meeting. Could we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have the roll call, Mr. Tyler.
Sure, Mike Bovat,
Here.
Mike Moffett,
Here.
Pat Connolly,
Here.
Wayne Pondinas,
Present.
Nicole Bennett,
Present.
John Boersma absent, Tyler McLeod here, Chris Salatis,
Present.
and Gabe Hernandez, maintenance foreman, also present.
All right, thank you, Tyler, and just like to make mention that the Town of St. John Town Manager Chris Salatis is with us. It's his first meeting, and we would like to welcome him. He will be attending meetings as a resource for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Looking forward to working with you.
Outstanding. Going to item 4, approval of minutes for Tuesday, February 16th, 2021, and Tuesday, May 18th, 2021. I'd like to have consideration of approval for the minutes for those months.
So moved.
I second.
It's a motion by Mike Moffett, second by Pat Connolly. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. We're finally caught up on minutes.
Finally, we got it done. Good job. Item 5, new business, approval of independent contractor agreements. Tyler, if you could comment?
Yeah, so these are just for a few of our youth volleyball league referees. This was an oversight from last month. They should have been batched in with the others, so, yeah, we'll pay them $10 a game through the end of the season. So I'll have you sign them at the end of the meeting, but these are for Alyssa McClelland and Jordan Kammer.
Okay, and that's the sheet that you put in our
Yep.
packet. Very good. Consideration for approval for the program instructors for the Youth Sand Volleyball League.
I'll make the motion.
I will second.
It's a motion by Mike Moffett, second by Pat Connolly. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 5, new business, or I'm sorry, I did that one. Item 6, old business. A, Gates Skate Park.
So it looks like Adam Eichhorn from Spawn Ranch is attending. There he is to give us an update.
All right, thank you, Adam. How you doing, sir?
Hey, good. How are you, everybody? Thank you.
Doing well.
Good. Yeah, just wanted to kind of give a quick update as to where we're at with the skate park in the process. We have completed the site surveys and geotech reports, and upon review, we identified an area of the park that is a little bit challenging. So currently we're in the process of positioning the skate park to fit the site the best. I have a diagram that I can share really fast here. We can talk a little bit about it. So bear with me a second here. Let's try this. Everybody see this in full screen? If not, I can make it full screen.
No, we just see you.
Let's see me. Okay, let's do this again. 1 second, pardon me. Share this. And try this. Is that full screen?
Yes.
Sorry. Okay, perfect. So we're familiar with this skate park rendering. This is what was proposed a few months back. The design has yet to change from the original concept. We do anticipate some changes specifically to fit the space. But as you might notice, there is a large dark area back here, and that represents a a pond or a water basin at some point. It's been since filled in, and we have identified organic matter. So, which is what we need to avoid when we're building a structure like this. So let's talk quickly about the boring holes. We were out, we had a service come out and bored 3 holes. There's this hole number 1, hole number 2, and hole number 3. And as expected, we did find some organic matter around hole number 1, but interestingly enough, very little, if any, on number 2 and number 3. Then we overlaid the site survey on top of this picture and identified the easements to the south and, of course, the property lines to the north. And we want to position the park as far south as possible without going into the easements, which basically puts our park kind of right smack dab on top of the south end of where this pond was. So that said, we don't exactly know. We're still kind of debating, kind of talking about how we want to approach this. More than likely, what's going to happen is we're going to break the park into 3 sections and just kind of rearrange them to best fit. The area we need to avoid the most is bore number 1, this section right here, because we went down 25 feet. Still weren't able to identify any solid ground underneath that. So, I mean, in a nutshell, this is kind of typical with situations like this, but we are working internally with our construction management design team, our engineering team, to kind of figure out the best positioning of the park to fit the space. And I mean, that's basically it in a nutshell. We should have something, we hope to have something by the end of, well, I don't want to put a firm date on it, but it could very well be by the end of this week that we'll have a new conceptual design, or maybe even a finalized design to fit the space. And then one last thing to note is that, yes, this is, a process that we're going through, but it is not holding up our time frame. So we're still on track for late August groundbreaking, which would complete the park, late into the fall, but at least before the frost.
Excellent. When did you first discover that was could be an issue on number 1?
Well, once we got the geotech report back from the company that did the borings, they identified that. So actually, during the process of boring, they went down 25 feet and called us and said, "Hey, do you want us to keep going any deeper?" And we're like, "No, that's fine. That's just basically a spot we need to avoid." And what it's identifying is organic matter, organic material under the earth, obviously, and organic matter over time will decompose and potentially shift the ground. So we want to avoid building anything substantial in that area, specifically an in-ground bowl. So that's, a bowl is not going to be in that section. This is the bowl,
Right.
where the bowl would be.
And I was going to
Everything else is about on grade, slightly below grade.
Okay. I was just going to ask you too, Adam, have you guys encountered anything like this before and dealt with issues like this in the past when you've put things in?
Oh yeah, it's not uncommon. And the advantage we have in the style of building that we do is that we essentially build on grade, sometimes below grade, but we're not building a home foundation. We're not building heavy structures above the ground. So, for instance, this would not be suitable for a home, but for a flat pad, it shouldn't. I mean, and I'm not an expert, and this is where we're having kind of an internal discussion. It's like, hey, maybe the pump track goes in the section that we're least or we're most concerned about, or those kinds of things. But yes, indeed. And typically what happens is the organic material needs to be removed and replaced with inorganic material. So it's possible that we may have to do that in certain places, because they did identify small pockets of organic material when they were doing the borings. Very common. Nothing that we're not used to.
Okay. So what do you think would be necessary from us as far as like moving forward for, if you get something back within a week? Is there anything imperative as far as like to keep the process moving that we would need to do if you're considering some conceptual changes?
Well, I'll float this out there, and I did mention this to Tyler on a conversation I think last week, but the easement at the south is really preventing us from moving the park down any farther south. But it's interesting that the parking lot is actually in that easement. So, I mean, we already kind of got the no, you don't want to go into, we can't go into the easement. But I, if possible, wouldn't mind maybe double checking that, because that would allow us to put to more options and allow us to push the park farther south. And one other thing that we're doing is that this bowl is probably larger than it needs to be. That doesn't mean that we're going to reduce the footprint of the park, but we might put a smaller bowl into that section, which allows us more space to move the park south. Because that's obviously the objective, is to get the park as far south as possible. But from you specifically, I would maybe ask to double check the easements, if that's possible.
Okay, the easements?
Yeah, to the south, so the power lines, they're not, this line here doesn't represent the power lines, but I think it represents a property line possibly where the utility company may own the property south of that. I don't know exactly, so don't quote me on that, but it's basically saying that there's an easement, that this is an area that, you know, it's may not be able to build on.
Okay,
There's an AT&T easement on there on the bottom, so.
yeah.
Right,
but
yeah.
You want to comment on that, Ms. Nicole?
I can. The property is still, I have to imagine by how it's drawn in the markings there, that this is still park property or town property, but those easements are platted at the time of dedication, when the property was originally platted and this land was initially laid out. And those dedications are set forth by statute that are required for utilities. Now, it might be only labeled as AT&T, but it's clearly a utility easement for that purpose. Those are statutorily required on different areas for the access, obviously, for the utilities to the surrounding neighborhoods, for further development, things of that nature. And where your greatest risk comes in is they may never need to be touched. But if there's a single chance that there's ever a time that the utility, any one of them, needs to come through there, they will come through, and whether that's a bulldozer or that's a shovel, and they tear up whatever they need to get through, and they are under no obligation to replace. And in fact, they won't. So that's the risk of the easements, and that is why, both by local ordinance as well as state statute, there's such restrictions on constructing an easements, and if you do, when allowed, it's quite frankly at your own risk. So it would not be anything that, I don't believe you'd get anyone giving you a legal opinion to do so because of the cost. It is just such an enormous responsibility.
Understood.
Fair enough. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, well, since we learned of the easements, we have been planning to stay away from them. So we'll just proceed with keeping it within boundaries. Yeah.
Okay.
So we should have obviously by the next board meeting, we should have something much more visual, most likely a finalized design to present.
Sounds good. Any other comments? Anything? Thank you, Ms. Nicole, for your input. And I think that's a good update, and appreciate you getting with us, Adam.
Absolutely, no problem at all. Thank you.
And Adam, we're looking at July 20th at 5 PM. It's our next regular meeting.
All right.
I think that is a Monday, correct? Yeah. Possibly Tuesday.
That should be Tuesday. Yeah.
Tuesday.
No problem. Sounds good. I'll mark my calendar.
We'll see you then.
Excellent.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
All right, old business, moving to B, Founder's Park.
So the DNR, they informed us last week that the $250,000 LWCF grant has finally been fully approved at the federal level. That's the clearance that's been held up for over a year now. So we were happy to hear that. The state is preparing the grant agreement, and they'll have that to us within the next few weeks. And just a reminder, that is a reimbursement grant, so as funds are expended, the town would be reimbursed for those expenditures. Update on the schedule, so the contractor has completed a tree removal, underbrush removal, and then other site cleanup as well. I believe they're going to work on grading the area next. They've been held up a little bit because of weather and a few other challenges. But they're also in the process of preparing a pay request for the county for a portion of those CDBG funds for the project. And it's been a bit of a challenge to connect with the county for the past month or so, but we're still making those efforts. And we're also scheduling a progress meeting on site with the contractor next week. A few items they're going to work on this month. They're going to complete the earthwork and also complete the boardwalk footings and the structure for the boardwalk.
Sounds good. So we're moving forward. I know with the weather, that's been a challenge. Any comments? C, Lake Hills Trail repairs.
So St. John Paving, they've almost completed the trail repair work in a few sections there at Lake Hills. As just a reminder, there was issues with standing water, which caused soils to be washed over in a few of those sections. This was the project that was approved back in February. But they stabilized the base of those sections, repaved it, and then installed about 500 feet of drain along those areas to prevent this from being an issue going forward. The work was performed kind of at an interesting time, given all the rain we've had the past few days. It's been interesting to watch the water move around out there, but we've been out there several times since they wrapped up the majority of it last Thursday. We've walked it probably 3 times since then, and it seems to be doing its job. They also have to finish work on the topsoil. It's a little too wet for them to do that now, but hopefully sometime this week. And I just want to comment, I appreciate the work they did for us. There were some interesting challenges that came up during the job, and they were able to work through them, and they were very helpful.
That's awesome. D, Civic Park Tennis Court.
So the sport coat and striping was scheduled for last week. Of course, the weather pushed that back as well. It's now scheduled for this week, weather permitting. They just can't do that if the asphalt's wet. And then the fencing, they would come in and put the fence, Reeves Fencing would come in and put the fence back up next week. Of course, it's all scheduled to, subject to change based on the weather. So that's where we're at with the tennis court.
It's moving forward. That's a positive. Thank you for that, Tyler. Number 7, reports and correspondence. Board members.
I noticed the volleyball courts, they put up some new nets out there. Looks like they added a lot more sand. They look very good. My daughter plays out there. Every time I go out there, I pretty much see the 2 of them out there. They're doing an awesome job. Just want to thank them for that.
Great sport, volleyball. And again, I just want to say thanks to everybody's participation to keep all these things moving forward. Skate Park, Tyler and Nicole, appreciate your efforts there. Founders Park, again, thank you for that. Lake Hills, I know that's been something that's been ongoing for a while, and if we can remedy that, that's such a positive. And in the Civic Park tennis courts, these are all good things. Appreciate everyone's effort. Anything, Patrick?
No, sir.
All right.
I say thank you for everybody doing their good job. Staying on top of stuff.
Staff?
Yeah, a few items, just a few programs that are ongoing. So our Beanbag League, we were advertising it for Tuesdays. We're going to look at Fridays instead, starting July 9th. That's $100 a team and $50 a person, so hopefully that night will work a little better for folks. We have some basketball camps coming up hosted by the Region Basketball Club. It's Thursday, July 15th is for grades 4 and under, and Friday, July 16th is for grades 5 and above. Those fees are $20 each and $10 for additional siblings. These will just be skill-based camps where kids will learn how to dribble, pass, and shoot, all the fundamentals. So it's nice to get our new court utilized. And then our partner for our flag football has registration open for their fall season. That season starts on September 12th, and they can registration's available online at indianaflagfootball.com. And I also want to mention our staff is going to be helping out with the fireworks that are scheduled for this Saturday, July 3rd. We're already in the process of helping with the setup for the event. Then we'll also provide some general support the night of the event, and then help with the cleanup efforts once it's over. So, yeah.
Thank you, Tyler. Town Council Liaison, Mr. Wayne Pondinas.
Just like to say one thing, our summertime help, we're at full force now. I think we have 5 kids and all doing a great job. They're all pitching in, working up a sweat and under Gabe's direction, so everything's going good with that and appreciate their help.
Sounds good. Thank you, Wayne. Moving on to item 8, payment of the bills. Payment of the bills in the amount of $79,896.25. And consider the payment of the bills in that amount.
So moved.
I second.
That's a motion by Mike Moffett, second by Pat Connolly. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 9, public comment. Any public comments? Item 10, adjournment. Consider adjourning the meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
It's a motion to adjourn by Mike Moffett, second by Pat Connolly. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?